Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. My name's William. This is a Set Corsa Competizione, and today I'm going to be driving the BMW M4 GT4 around Spa. I'm going to have a hot lap for you as well as a setup for you all to try out and hopefully enjoy. Um, I will say this car is uh, is is pretty strong from what I was experiencing, and I think this is right up there with the Cayman. So I do think this one's worth trying out. If you guys were for some reason going to pass on the BMW, this thing is quite enjoyable to drive and feels really good. The only thing about it I'm not a huge fan of is the gearing, which really isn't a problem around this track, but I know around some others it's a little bit awkward. So. Uh, Maybe one to kind of get familiar with and use on tracks where it's not a huge issue. But anyways, that's another issue. So before I get carried away talking, I'll go ahead and shut up. We'll get on into the hot lap, and I will be back with you guys to talk over the setup. Enjoy. All right, that was a hot lap around Spa in the BMW M4 GT4. You can see the time here is a 2:30.372. Taking a look at the timetable here, these first two laps were just on the bone stock aggressive preset, so a pretty big gain over the aggressive preset, just kind of whittling the time down and figuring it out as I went along. Basically, not purple all the way across the board. Did leave a little bit out in the last sector, and really that's the only thing I'm unhappy with on this lap is my entry to Blanchimont just turned in a little too early and caught the curb. Um, those last little bits, it's little details like that, just not doing something ever so tiny. But nevertheless, happy with the time, even if I'm not ultimately super happy with the lap. Um, One thing I will say on the aggressive preset, which is what we started with, the aggressive preset for this car actually felt pretty decent. It wasn't necessarily the greatest through Eau Rouge, um, and the car just had a lot of understeer on corner exit, as well as it didn't feel like it was really I kind of felt like it was on top of the track instead of in the track. I think that's slightly a nature of the car, but that is what I wanted to focus on working out. So we can kind of get into that now. From the aggressive preset. So obviously just tweaking the tire pressures to suit my conditions. What I was aiming for was 27 psi hot on the front and about 26 psi hot on the rear. I wanted less tire pressure on the rear, just so I could have that extra traction out of the acceleration zones on the track. And then holding about 27 psi, just a little bit under on the front. Just through more testing and everything, it really does seem like if you go over 27, just like a tenth of a psi, 2/10, 3/10 of a psi, you're fine. But whenever you get about a half a pound over 27, you're getting like 27.5, somewhere around there. I just felt like I was losing grip on the car, so I'd rather shoot for just a little under 27, especially because you really do want all the grip you can get out of the front of the car, especially in the braking zones in this car. Um, Other than that, just balancing the cambers for a good feel and nice distribution on the temperatures for the outside, middle, and inner. Running the traction control on 1, ABS on 1 as well. You only get 4 traction control settings in this car. One felt pretty good. It definitely, you can feel it kicking in, especially in corners like the last corner and turn 1, those slow acceleration or traction zones. It's just it's struggling to keep the wheels from spinning up, but uh, it's a lot easier than with traction control off. I can tell you that much, as I definitely did try that and would not recommend. So ABS on 1, that's really the big hindrance on this car, is the ABS. It is definitely drivable, but you really need to focus on getting the pressure right and not getting into ABS if you can avoid it, as you will get much better braking performance out of the car if you um, don't get into ABS. Especially if you're trying to turn the car in, like trail brake or anything like that. You really need to be mindful of releasing that pressure off, so you're not into the ABS while you're trying to get the car to slow down and turn at the same time. It just doesn't go well for how aggressive that setting is. Um, but it's going to be nicer having it on to save your butt from locking up the tires than potentially getting it a little bit wrong and maybe missing your apex a little bit and costing you a little bit of time. Plus, it's a good way to kind of learn the proper technique, anyways. Um, Oh yeah, I did try the brake pad compounds for this car. I definitely preferred 4 actually on the on this car, so maybe give that a shot, as I would normally run 2. I tried 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I definitely did prefer 4 on this car for whatever reason. Don't know if it has to do with the conditions or what, but 4 was good for me. On the suspension side of things, so softest wheel rate up front. Um, this is not quite like the Mercedes. I definitely do think it is viable to run the softest or the stiffest wheel rate, um, depending on what exactly you are going for. The softest felt like it had a little bit more drivability and it was a little bit more um, consistent, whereas the stiffest definitely felt a little bit sharper in some of the areas, but it was a little bit more difficult to get the car through Eau Rouge for me. That might just be a driver change, but or like a adjustment that I needed some more time in. But nevertheless, I'll kind of talk about that in a moment as well. The brake bias, I actually moved it up. For once, I think that's the first time ever. 55% felt pretty good to me. Let's see, wheel rate on the rear, I liked it in the middle. Softest helped with the acceleration and the traction zones and everything, but I just could not get the rear of the car to rotate the way I wanted to. So you could try that. You could definitely lower it if you want a little bit more help keeping the back end stable, but I ultimately think it is also more difficult through Eau Rouge like that. And then let's see, the last thing really to talk about is this preload on the differential. You're not really making huge swings at the car with the adjustability that you have. It started on 20, I went up to 40. I just had a little bit of a better feel for the car and its consistency in the way it was rotating. If you go more, it'll kind of just uh, it'll spin the tires up a little bit more consistently in the way it does it, but you will get more of it. So I was trying to kind of hit a happy medium. If you go less, you'll get a little bit more rotation on corner entry, and ultimately, I think you'll actually get pretty much the same problem of spinning up the wheel on corner exit, but it will be a little bit less predictable. So that's at least my take on it, anyways. Onto the dampers, they're pretty crazy. Um, this is uh, this is just the best feeling I had out of the car on settings like this. I did try various different ones, um, but yeah, there you go. Those are my damper settings. Not really going to talk about them too much, other than to say, if you do want to run the highest wheel rate, if you want to see what that feels like on the car, um, it makes sense to go ahead and lower this bump on the front as well. So if you're gonna go for it and go for max wheel rate, I would recommend lowering the bump by just under about half. I would go to like 12 on the front and see if it's for you or not for you, and kind of play around in that range and try and tweak it. For the aero side of things, raise the nose a little bit to help through Eau Rouge. Raise the rear as well for the same reason. Increase the rear wing by 1, as that just helped my sector 2 around this track quite a bit without really hindering um, the straight line speed down the Kimmel Straight. So um, definitely went for that wing increase just because it was basically free speed at that point to me, and then increasing the rear ride height even just a little bit more because of the wing and getting the rotation in the car that I was shooting for. Also, these brake duct values. So once again, I think this is kind of the way to have it set up, staggered slightly, one click more than in the rear than in the front, just to keep your brakes at a nice, good operating temperature. So when you smash on that brake pedal, you actually get some decent braking performance out of the car. So anyways, guys, that is the setup. Hopefully there's some adjustability in there, and you can tweak it to um, uh, suit your style a little bit more, and hopefully it is quite drivable for you out there around the track. If you do try out these different wheel rates, let me know which one you prefer. I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you preferred the max wheel rate, or the lower wheel rate, and the with the damper changes. It's always kind of cool to hear the or y'all's opinion on it, especially whenever I think that they're both viable for sure. So um, look forward to hearing that. Thank you guys so much for all the support, and until the next one, I'll see you later. Bye bye.